Hunter got pulled over by the cops because he got pulled over by the cops, and the cops were going to arrest him, and he pretended he was Irish. I'm sorry about that, officer. My hotel's right there. I'm just a bit past with my friends. Do you have a passport? No, officer. I'm sorry about that. My friend Hunter is very bad. But no, I do. I use foreign voices all the time. To mess with telemarketers. It's a lot of fun. Pretend like you don't speak the language, or that you're really interested in their religion. That's awesome. Yes, I do want AT&T, but first, have you accepted Jesus Christ? Like, that's fun, dude. Like, genuinely, I want people to accept Jesus Christ and all, but it's not in that situation, but it's funny. No, voice acting, yeah, I do, I mean, heck, when I was, like, I'm decent at accents because at 15, I would pretend to be British to pick up chicks. It seemed to work. I was a jerk back then, mind you. I don't support people lying to people for that kind of thing. I think it's a jerky thing. But I was 15, and people do stupid stuff when they're 15. Yes, sir.
How did you get into
directing? Basically, Colleen Klinkenbeard heard me do Bardroy and a couple other ones, and I did my first Bard session, and she goes, "You want to direct?" And I went, "Can I have a couple hours?" And I went home and I talked to my girl that I was dating at the time, and she was like, "You should do it." And I'm like, I think I should do it. And then I did it. That was it. It was like, it happened. There was no thought forethought or anything. I did study directing in college, and I did do all that, but I think Colleen just found somebody that she was producing a few things at the time, and she just liked the way I had a grasp on accents, and said, "You want to? You've been working here a long time. I gotta do these other 8 things." Because Colleen's busy. That chick, God, she's so talented. She's one of those people that you go, "Oh, God, you're talented. How do you do that?" Ugh. And she's lovely, so it kind of like balances out. She's really cool.
I still sometimes find it hard to believe they see boys in blue.
Yeah, I know, right? Dude, when you see her do that, like she did a yell in Black Butler when she was like, she's pinned against the wall, and she, and that was the first time I was like, there it is. Oh, wow. And it's really cool to see. Also, I couldn't understand that Laura Bailey did Shin Chan until I saw it. And when you can kind of see somebody in their process, you can kind of accept it better because you're like, because Laura Bailey does this when she does Shin Chan, and that's why it gets a little bit of that noise. And it's posture and stuff like that, and you realize it. And it's cool to see. It still weirds me out watching girls do boy voices. It's just weird to watch. But if you watch it, you can kind of intellectualize it and figure it out. Yeah. I need another question.
Do you ever geek out when you meet people that you really like at cons?
Oh, dude, I try not to. I try my best not to. I met Wolverine. Dude, I met Steve Bloom, and Nabashin, I straight up, at the end of the panel was like, they were like, "And Ian Sinclair, final thoughts." And I go, "Let's do a panel with Nabashin!" And he was like, "Ah!" I love Nabashin. Steve Bloom was the last time I geeked out on somebody, but I just played it cool. Because Steve Bloom, do you ever know who Steve Bloom is? Voice of Toonami, voice of Wolverine. I can stop at Spike, Cowboy Bebop. For me, his Wolverine is so good. It's so good. I'm a comic nerd, and there are very few people that I'm like, "You're a good Wolverine." Like that Peter. Anybody see that Wolverine anime that came out? Don't. I'm sorry. I like to support the industry, but they got the guy who plays Peter Petrelli to be Wolverine. Yeah. I'm gonna stop there because I get a little upset when I think about it, just because he went a different direction than I would have. But Steve Bloom was the last one that I met that I freaked out about because it's Steve Bloom. It's freaking Wolverine. And I was like, "Oh, so hey." I was in LA for Penny and Stock. I'm like, "Hey, how's it going?" "Oh, I'm Ian." He's like, "Oh, I'm Steve. It's really nice to meet you." I'm like, "Oh, yeah. So, yeah, this is crazy, man. You been to LA a lot?" "Oh, yeah, I live here." "Oh, yeah." Steve Bloom is one of the nicest guys. What you find out is, voice actors are nice, and then they get, there's a super famous level where they can maybe not be. And then there's like the uber famous, and those guys are crazy nice because they're just super famous, and they're like, hey, yeah, I'm Wolverine. Who are you? What's your name? Like Steve Bloom. You know what? I don't know if all crazy famous voice actors are like that, but like Steve Bloom is one of the nicest men I have ever met in any situation, and he was like, yeah, it's really great to meet you. And I'm like, well, and then I got called on the stage and was like, oh, hey, I gotta go. And he's like, oh, you're with the thing? And I'm like, oh, yeah. He's like, that's really cool. I'm like, and then I went on stage, you know, with this weird thing, and he was at dinner, and he made a joke about my package at dinner. And I went back to my table and went, Wolverine just talked about my package. Wolverine just talked about my package. And I can die easy now. Steve Bloom, man. I want to be Steve Bloom so bad. I want to be Steve Bloom, man. And if you don't know him, listen to his work sometime. Like, there are people in this industry that really make art. And that dude makes art.